Right, guys, this is just a late night read, and I'm just doing something en route, so just take it as it resonates. If you are new to my channel, first off, I just will let you know that I'm doing a little more sporadic and random with my reads. This is for the sign of Libra, and again, if it's not your story, it's not your story. You're not all making decisions on a Monday or a Friday, that kind of thing, so just be mindful of that. We'll just jump right in here, and again, this is an en route read, so I will be doing a general read. There are some elements that are a little bit more specific to relationships, and I did hone in a little bit more on finances as well. But this would be for just sort of the general stuff that's coming in offhand here. So just to kind of start off with the first deck, which is the Artist Decoded. And this is a deck by Jennifer Sodini and Yoshino. So there's just a couple of cards on that one. So what I'm looking at here is, of course, and I'm sorry if it's a little bit dark here, it's just the hour. This is the Ace of Pentacles. So the Ace of Pentacles is usually something that's new that's coming in. However, the phrasing of the question that I asked related more around what is this as an obstacle. So because I see this as more of an obstacle in the read, how I'm going to interpret this is that in the month of March, I feel like you're seeing something as, and again, there's going to be different angles of this as well. So it's not that, when I do a reading, it's not necessarily that there's all positive elements or all negative elements. I mean, there's going to be different times of the day that something might, have a little bit more of an impact. So in other words, what I mean by that is, predominantly the read may have more positive aspects, but it's not to say that there won't be negative events that, kind of carry through, but you may be able to deal with it more effectively in certain months over another. But anyway, let's just jump right in. So again, Ace of Pentacles, this was more of an obstacle. So what that really means is it feels like it could be more of a missed opportunity or some kind of a delayed opportunity, something that either you're hesitating around or something that's in a practical sense around finances or money or something that has to do with, a tangible, something tangibly impacting you that feels like it's not quite there yet. So it feels like something has been slowed down or delayed, or the timing feels uncertain. So either you're hesitating or someone else is hesitating, or this is a financial opportunity or something that feels blocked at this time, and you want to take the first step, but you're not able to do so. And then we also have the next card. And again, these are the biggest impacts for the read for the month. Sorry, the next card out there. So this one is, of course, dealing with the Eight of Cups. So again, because we did indicate that this is more of the obstacles for the month of March, this would be more along the lines of, we already covered the aspect of timing, something being off and not falling into play. And then this is the Eight of Cups, so this is an emotional withdrawal. So I feel in the month of March, you're kind of pulling back instead of talking about something. There's a bit of an emotional detachment of sorts. And it does feel like it's to prevent or, discomfort of some sort. So you're kind of walking away from something temporarily that might potentially need your attention, but at this time, it just feels like you need to create some distance between that, to gain some clarity. Now, the next card out is the King of Cups, and this is an obstacle card again because of the first few that I've asked, specifically that question. So as an obstacle, it does suggest that it's suppressed emotion, and that, of course, goes hand in hand with the previous card. So this is also indicating that in the month of March, you're staying composed because a king is a mature energy, but it definitely feels that, you are feeling very deeply about something, but you're just not verbalizing it. So you're trying to manage your emotions internally rather than externally. So again, that's more of an obstacle, and the theme really is, unspoken feelings or a hesitation around a practical opportunity, something of that sort. Now, to kind of go through some of the more positives rather than just hinder on the negative here or linger on it. Sorry, guys, still getting over a little bit of a sickness issue here. So we are looking at the Nine of Swords. Believe it or not, this is the more positive aspect of the read. So what this would really be, kind of moving towards here is, I think that you have a lot of anxiety over something, but because the Six of Pentacles is here, maybe you're apprehensive about a connection where you're getting some kind of assistance. But there is something here about fairness kind of being restored with that Six of Pentacles, because that's the positive cards. So again, when you're looking at the nine here, I mean, that is like you're just concerned about either the connection or concerned about, you know, overgiving or, you know, not something along that line. But either way, in the positive, it is telling me that there is supportive energy here. So emotionally or financially, but fairness is being restored with this card. So it is a stabilizing card. So the bigger picture here, you know, is more that, you know, you do have some emotional withdrawal, fear taking, you know, fear of taking sort of the practical steps towards something. But in March, it looks like the month overall is, you know, feelings may feel heavy at first, but there's still logic and fairness and, you know, reciprocity, you know, with someone of significance here. And if you, it's like you're thinking clearly and it's a rebalancing month. So I would say it's not dramatic, it's not destructive, it's just, you know, emotionally kind of layered. So some of the obstacles again would be more along the lines of hesitation, you know, in taking a new opportunity. So it might be something you've started, but the timing just isn't there for it to be fully, you know, fleshed out. But again, there are some feelings being suppressed here as well on another level. But the good things, again, are that there is still some clear communication, fairness, support, balance, give and take. That's the overall message. So even if you're avoiding emotions here, it still means that there's still, you know, something is stalling out. But on the upside, it also means that there's still something to look forward to, because it's just not, the timing matters here. So now we're going to get right into kind of the general overall message of the read here. So this is, again, more of a general, but this is more focused on the relationship aspect in this first little bit here. So what I want to say is, starting out with the first card, and again, this is the Knight of Wands. It's an action card. So, I mean, it really does indicate that there is, you know, it's also a card, though, where there's a lot of, you know, back and forth energy, meaning it's not stable energy. So there's something here that kind of speaks to, you know, the, because, well, what it kind of says to me is, either if it is a love situation, it feels like this person is kind of in or out of your life a lot. Like there's a lot of back and forth. It's not a really stable energy. So I feel like this month is more about, you know, it's a major karmic shift this month, because we did have some cards out here, you know, even though we are looking at, sorry, I'm just kind of trying to put some light on the card there. That's the Ten of Wands. There's a heaviness with that connection. So there could be some anger issues or something that you're dealing with on that level as well. But we also have, you know, the card of the Magician, which is usually something that is more stable energy, or more, you know, how you have control of a situation. But I don't feel like it's a random conflict energy. It just feels like it's a restructuring energy overall. So there's more positive, I would say, like the positive aspects, you know, when we kind of go through the cards here, would be, sorry, I'm trying to put more light on it here. I could have had a better setup. Sorry about that, guys. Just going as I go here. But I mean, the Wheel of Fortune is also that card of change. So it does mean you're kind of in a space of making some big shift. And again, we also have the card of, let's see if I can get extra light on this. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, so I mean, this is the Seven of Wands. Of course, the Seven of Wands is also that card of resistance. So there's something here that kind of speaks to, and the Eight of Swords is the follow-up card. So there's some conflict. But you do have overall something possibly or in around family. And I'm going to go through this as well and give you a more fleshed out read. But this is representing someone who also has money. There's a sense of family here as well. So anyway, let's just kind of backtrack. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole without giving you enough information. So let's go backtrack here a little bit. So like I said, when I look at the major arcana here, I mean, the Magician is obviously a big player, and a lot of the tens here, or the 10 does indicate that there is a sense of something ending and there's a completion. No matter what happens externally, the foundation seems like it's pretty strong. So you do have a sense of an emotional bond, because the Queen of Cups did show up here, and there's a long-term family commitment because the Ten of Pentacles was here. And there is some nostalgia. You did see the Six of Cups, so there's some kind of a soul memory present. And there's also a new emotional beginning with the Ace of Cups, which is a little further out. You had the Ace of Pentacles, where there's a delayed start. So emotionally, there is something here that's starting to, look more favorable. But a lot of cards show that things are intact. So the most positive aspect is that in terms of a relationship, it's not breaking, it's transforming. In the month of March, there is potential for an emotional renewal. So maybe it's not quite verbally being spoken to yet, but I mean, the tension here is the Knight of Wands and the Ten of Wands at the beginning, and that's still there. So again, there's still elements here that you have to kind of work through with this person. I would say that, looking at the Seven of Wands, there's still a lot of resistance in this connection. We did have the Eight of Swords in reverse. So, I mean, that still indicates that there is still some, it's a reactive communication energy is what I'm seeing there with all that combination. You did actually have, and again, the Ten of Pentacles, this could, represent family or people that represent as family to you. But it does feel like overall, there's a sense of feeling overwhelmed, and there's kind of an impulsivity to the reaction, from you or somebody else in the way the communication is, how you're receiving each other. But again, there's some overthinking here. And again, with that Eight of Swords, so I definitely feel like things could be blurted out, or you're trying to juggle emotions. There's a lot of back and forth energy here, even though there are some elements that are quite stable. King of Pentacles to me is somebody who has money or is representing as somebody who is coming across with a lot of stability, control. But there's also things here that kind of speak to defensive tones. So feeling misunderstood, that kind of thing in terms of this connection. Will there be arguments? Nothing destructive, but I definitely feel there'll be some heated moments in the month of March. I do feel like there's some strong emotions, and then it's like everything starts to recalibrate again. That Eight of Swords does suggest someone's kind of breaking out of a mental entrapment, so something that might have been of worry. Will there be favorable conversations? Yes, because the presence of the Ace of Cups, the Hierophant, Page of Swords was further out here too, and the Seven of Pentacles. So I really feel like there is long-term stability and more meaningful conversations, possibly a little further out, but there is some kind of, future planning or patience that's required for this connection. I don't feel like it's a light and fluffy kind of connection. It's more of a serious one, but a constructive connection nonetheless. So if we're looking at a timeline, I would say in around March, that first week, because of the Nine of Wands and all of that, I would say that there is something here that kind of speaks to some frustration or emotional intensity, quick reactions, that kind of thing. And then in week two, defensive communication, maybe testing boundaries, that kind of thing. And then by the third week, because you had the Wheel of Fortune and all of that, I do feel like it's a shift. Something clicks, and then there's like a realization. There is something here that still speaks to softer energy, toward the end where things start to kind of rebound, because there's your Ace of Cups. And again, I just feel like the strongest transformation happens in that second half of the month. So even though a lot is not being verbally conveyed, there's still some things going on beneath the surface. I would say the major arcana again was the Magician, and that's more communication and manifestation. So, and then the Hierophant, so that's Taurus energy. That is stability, that's tradition, and again, could be dealing with a structured situation. I do feel like, again, Wheel of Fortune is in there too. So there's there's fate at play here. So there's going to be some kind of expansion with that card because it is a shift. And there's also that sense of, family possibly and stability. So again, the signs that feel most relevant would be deep emotional transformation around families, focus, is where that stability is. And again, the bigger shifts will be, a little further into the month. Now, the repeating numbers that kind of came out here, a little more significant, would be the Seven of Wands, the Seven of Pentacles, that's patience and spiritual testing. The fact that we've got the Death card here, there's some big changes that are coming in, but again, it's a big shift. There's an end cycle of sorts that's coming through, not on all fronts, but certainly on an element of the laborious part of it, because whatever you were carrying with all the responsibility and those kinds of things, it feels like that is kind of shifting in some way. So it's not a small month, in terms of major arcana. Like there is some significant things that are happening here, but it's patience and spiritual testing, because you're still juggling quite a bit here with, you know, emotional intensity and some defensiveness. So again, it's a karmic turning point of some sort and a restructuring of how you relate, but there is an old dynamic that is finishing up, and it is beginning into a softer one. So I feel like overall you can look forward to something that's be a little bit more positive toward the end of the month. In terms of the relationship, it's like it's shedding something, shedding its skin, right? So the strongest message here is still that it's not a loss, it's renewing inside a connection inside either a family dynamic or a family structure, or some, you know, some kind of strong familiarity. So like long term, nothing that's sort of short term here. And I don't know, I don't really know what initiates the shift here, but let's go on to the next cards here, regardless. So this part is a little bit more on the money front for the tarot. So again, we've got, oh, wait a second here. Do we have the death card? Sorry, guys. I just want to see. Oh, I think I did kind of pull through some of that with the... give me 2 seconds here. Okay, kind of redirect the cards here a bit. Now the 2 wands kind of is still sort of end of the deck here for all of this, but right now we are looking at more of the financial aspect of things. So what I would say here is it does still feel like there's a little bit going on as far as there's a little bit that's kind of going on that in terms of the finances that still seems a little bit confusing. It could be that there's a lot of options or a lot of things going on here. I definitely feel, or sorry, actually, give me 1 second here. I also did this in terms of health. That's what I did there. Sorry, I pulled the cards out a little bit differently. So anyway, this part is actually a little bit more along the lines of sort of the health tone of things. So I do feel like overall, someone might be going through, whether this is you or somebody else, some levels of mental stress and trying to get clear and stabilize. Because I am looking at overthinking, worrying about scenarios, not having full clarity, kind of that stress, you know, under, you know, from the uncertainty of things. But there's headaches that kind of go with that, digestive issues, sleep disturbances. It's not any kind of disease stuff that I'm looking at here. It just feels like it's kind of an emotional reset. 7 of Swords, you know, keeping to oneself, not a lot of stuff coming out, not verbally, you know, it feels like just pulling back energy here. I definitely feel like stability is still here, though. Like, still a lot of grounded energy here. I don't feel like there's anything of, you know, major consequence, because I do feel like you know, this is a card that indicates that there's some degree of separation from, like, a emotional clearing, or, you know, a return to stability, some kind of clearing of whatever was going on here. Now, the Nine of Cups is, there's some kind of joy that might be coming in around a positive scenario here, because this is the card of joy or happiness. The Six of Pentacles is about that give and take. So it feels like there's some kind of something around a connection, again, is going to bring you some sense of joy. I don't know what that would be. It's going to be different for all of you, but overall, I feel like for the most part, you know, again, you're pulling back instead of talking, but there is still some very strong supportive energy that's around you that's going to bring you a lot of positive energy. So overall, like I said, I still feel like there is supportive energy. You've got emotional balance that is coming out, but you're, you know, things are being restored. It's just in a very kind of, seems like a very small way, but it's just because it's so under the wire. But I still feel like there is going to be balance that's you know, finding a way through the reading. Again, feelings are sort of heavy at first in the beginning, but nothing destructive. It's just sort of emotionally layered, like I said. But again, there's still some kind of supportive energy coming through from somebody that does give you a lot of fairness and support. And that, I think, really helps to equalize even your finances here with the Queen of Pentacles. But yeah, overall, there is definitely something here that kind of speaks to very strong energy to look forward to. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Keep moving forward, guys. It's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. And hi there. Sorry, Nishan. Sorry I didn't see you on there. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you guys in the next read. I might just do April before I close out for tonight. We'll do April read for Libra also. Stay tuned.